Talking about the sources of our inspiration for artistry. And we're going to look a little backwards to the previous year, reflect on what we've done a little bit, and then I'm going to give you some ideas for looking forward into the new year, finding sources of inspiration that are always there for you, and maybe setting some goals, or if not goals, intentions. I prefer that actually, to think of what do I want to create and how, even more importantly, do I want to be as I am creating the art that I'm envisioning for myself. So, just briefly, I'm Jennifer Roig-Francolí, creator of the Art of Freedom for Conscious Living and Masterful Artistry. I'm a certified Alexander Technique teacher, and this is the fifth video on day 5, or it's day 5, which is presenting the fifth video in this 5-day year's end reflection series, in which I have presented the 5 pillars of the art of freedom. I am tongue-tied today. It's early. Sorry. The Art of Freedom method has 5 pillars, and today I'm going to talk about pillar number 5, which is artistry. And the first 4 pillars that we have covered already this week were purpose, mind, body, spirit. And all of these things are combined because we want to learn how to bring the whole self to our music making. So let's just take a moment to reflect on the past year. I'm just going to give you a few moments of silence to consider your artistry. Consider how you've made music both for yourself and for others. If you've been playing for other people, during the pandemic, it's been a little not so easy in some places of the world. So anyway, I'm going to be quiet for a little bit, and let's just reflect on the past year and our music making. How have you felt about your music making in general? What have you accomplished? What are you happy about? What do you think was missing or lacking? And actually, I would suggest that you have a piece of paper there and do kind of stream of consciousness, just words, no need for full sentences. This should be rapid writing. Just throw onto the paper whatever comes to mind. And I'm going to do the same along with you right now. So not more than 30 seconds or so. Think about your artistry in the last year. Include anything that you're proud of, anything that you accomplished that was particularly exciting or satisfying or particularly inspiring, something you learned. Even if it's just a little bit of progress on a piece that you've enjoyed working on this year. What pieces did you work on? Did you complete anything to the point of really appreciating the work that you did on it? Or make progress on it to your satisfaction? I have to say, I am just thrilled. I can't resist showing you all. Some of you have already seen this, but my big accomplishment for the year was a lifelong dream of finally creating a solo violin recording, which is here. And it has been available on Amazon, but there were only a few copies that they uploaded, so I'm waiting to be able to send them more, and then they will be available. And this is all solo violin. I'm not trying to make an advertisement here, but I guess I am at the same time. Anyway, that's what I'm really happy about. So if there's a lifelong dream that maybe you've had, maybe there's an instrument that you've always wanted to play, how about bringing that goal a little closer to being fulfilled in 2022? So jot down whatever comes to mind that you would love to create, something that you would love to accomplish. Doesn't have to be just in 2022. I'm talking about future wishes, desires, and dreams. And just go wild. Let yourself dream crazy things that you may think are impossible. Maybe you've always wanted to take up Irish dancing. Or maybe you've always wanted to play the bagpipes or learn the sitar or I don't know, whatever excites you or interests you or makes you curious, just write it down. I'm going to give you a few moments to think about future dreams. What are some pieces you'd like to work on? I know I'd like to record a few more things in my life, so I'm writing down some of the ideas that I have here. Do you have any performances coming up that you're looking forward to in 2022? Write those down. This 5-day series is about reflections. I want you to reflect on what has worked, what hasn't worked, and even more importantly, what are you heading towards and how do you want to do it? How do you want to move into the future? Today's topic is artistry. So that encompasses everything that is kind of directed towards your creative output, your creative expression. And I work exclusively with musicians. So we are really talking about your music making. But I also don't like to exclude other sources of creative satisfaction and fulfillment that most of us have. Most musicians have other areas of artistic leanings. So I did want to touch a little bit on how we can revive sources of inspiration and bring them into our artistry in 2022. And again, stream of consciousness on your piece of paper. What are some other sources of artistry that inspire or could inspire in the future your music making? Are you visual? Do you love to go to a museum and take in visual art? Can you bring those vivid images, the vivid colors? Can you bring color more into your music? Are you inspired by other types of music? For instance, world music, different cultures, different traditions, different musical scales, instruments that aren't in the classical music world. Do you appreciate singing if you're not a singer? Can you bring more of a sense of song and voice into your instrumental music making? Maybe you can sing your pieces, sing the pieces that you're working on, dance the music that you're working on. Does it inspire you to go on YouTube and watch beautiful dancing or even acrobatics, gymnastics? There are so many different ways to express yourself artistically. I mean, it's infinite. Anything that you do with your body and your mind and your spirit and your whole self with the intention to be present and bring grace into your movements. Whatever you apply yourself to can become art. That to me is true artistry, when you're being yourself and you're allowing yourself to be inspired and you're letting that inspiration flow through your mind, body, self to share something of beingness, being yourself, sharing the self with others to inspire them. To inspire others through your art, you first need to be inspired. To inspire others to be more fully and authentically themselves, you need to do that for yourself first. ultimately, the biggest source of inspiration comes from inside of us. So we get help, we get support from outside. If you have a teacher, if you have a community, if you have friends who are artists or people who love art, maybe they don't produce art, but they love art. Their minds, their hearts are filled with art. Surrounding yourself with external supports is really important. But ultimately, those supports are to help you find the sources of inspiration from inside so that your inner artist can come out freely. That's what the art of freedom is all about. That's what my work is really, truly about. It's about learning how to let go of the ego and the extra stuff that gets in the way of the free flow of inspiration, so that we can be ourselves and share ourselves and commune with one another in that spirit of oneness and being and love and light and all those lovely things that life, I think, is really about. And that's, I think, why we are artists, because we have that intuition of that essential nature of art. And we want to live it and share it and live it with others. So the question here is, what is there outside that can inspire you moving into 2022 that maybe you haven't paid much attention to recently? Maybe you haven't gone to a museum. Maybe you can't, depending on where you live. We're still in this horrible pandemic, and it's harder to do the things that we're used to doing. But that actually means we just need to get more creative and think outside the box. I just looked out the window and I see trees. Nature. How could I forget to mention nature? Nature is the best external source of inspiration. All you need to do is look at a tree and then go pick up your instrument, and your music, your art will be better for having been inspired by the beauty of nature. What could be more inspiring than the beauty of nature? Go outside, get inspired. So, one last thing that I wanted to bring up about sources of inspiration that you can bring into your art. I want to remind you about your senses and ask you, have you actually been utilizing consciously the power of your senses in the past? In the last year, have you nurtured your sensuality in the sense of, like I said, are you aware of what you're seeing, and are you bringing the sights, the lights, the colors, the textures that you see into your art? Are you bringing smell and taste into your system? Are you letting it wake up your sensuality and your sense of your emotions, your feelings? To be a great artist, you need to be in touch with your feelings. You need to be in touch with your emotions. And your senses can help you be more in touch with that kind of sensuality. Don't forget your kinesthetic sense. People talk about 5 senses. We've got more than 5 senses. Come on. When you have a stomachache, you feel it, right? That's your proprioceptive sense. So don't forget about proprioception, and don't forget that it's possible that there are other senses. I have no doubt, actually, that there are plenty of other senses that we just haven't named. We talk about the usual 5 senses, and come on, let's add proprioception. That is an obvious 6th sense, to be able to feel things happening on the inside of your body. That's not touch, but it is proprioception. So that is a 6th sense. It's not about ESP or anything. Maybe that's a 7th sense. I don't know. But can you be open to the possibility that there is way more going on around you that you can let in to inspire your art? That just may mean wondering and getting curious and asking the question, what is there for me now that would like to come in and be inspired and expressed through my music? Just to be open. Yesterday, I talked about the fourth pillar of the Art of Freedom method, which is spirit. And again, all of the pillars are interrelated, and you can't do without any of them. But and I've talked a lot today about inspiring your artistry. How can you get inspired without being open to the creative spirit? So I talked about taking time at the beginning of a practice session or before a performance, giving yourself time to pause and quiet the mind and clear excess tension from the body, and just to be silent. In that moment, you can also ask for inspiration to come to you. And that can come from outside, it can come from inside as well. There is an inner well of wisdom inside of us, in the heart, in the body, in every single cell. There's a spark of light and life. Can you connect to that and bring that into the specifics and the generalities? But can you bring it into the specifics of your music making? With my students, we go into great detail. This week, I've talked in big picture terms about these 5 pillars of the Art of Freedom method. But when I'm working with my private coaching clients, or when I'm working with my advanced group, or even my introductory students who actually I have a new program starting in January, if you're curious, it's called the Musician's Mind Body Breakthrough. When I work with my students, we go into great detail, very specific detail for how to bring, well, first of all, how to notice that you're getting in the way. Like if you want to do a specific technique on your violin and you want to do something with your bow and the sound's not coming out the way you want it to, I teach my students how to observe how they're getting in their own way. And then I tell them exactly what they need to do, especially how they need to think differently to get out of the way and let the technique do itself effortlessly. It's not hard, but it's pretty revolutionary to most people to realize that it's like there's a switch in the brain that you can flip. It's like a paradigm shift that you can flip easily in a split second to see everything differently and to make everything let go and get easier. Students who go through this program all want to make better art. They all want to make better music, but they're all stuck with bumping up against some sort of a limitation, whether it's physical pain, excess tension in their bodies, performance anxiety, other kinds of anxiety, self-esteem issues, negative thinking, hypercritical thinking, self-critical thinking, feeling like they're not good enough, not being motivated or pushing too hard and always having pain. There's always kind of a limitation that they're bumping up against. But once they learn these specific techniques that I teach, which are all based on pure Alexander technique, but without the hands, which is so empowering because then my students can do it for themselves. Once they learn these things, everything opens up and everything starts to work better. So I'm just going to pop over to the comments because I see them coming up here. Hello, Facebook users. I wish I could see your actual names. If anybody wants me to know who's here, please type in your name. I can see Chloe. Hi, Chloe. I'm so glad you like this series. But underneath Chloe, I see 2 people that just say Facebook user, and that's probably just because there are lots of reasons why it could be, but I'm on Ecamm, which is simulcasting to YouTube and Facebook. So because of privacy issues, unless you've given permission to Ecamm to use your name, that's why I can't see people's names. But, oh, Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie. So glad you're here. And hello from Italy, somebody says. Okay, so here I'm reading a comment. This is totally, and I'm squinting because I don't have my glasses on, so I put my glasses on. This is totally true of what is now working for me. I've gone back to playing a couple of instruments recently. Hey, great. And I am now so aware of what I'm doing. Wonderful. The program has really helped me see this. Oh, this is Stephanie writing. Oh, okay, wonderful. Stephanie has been one of my coaching clients for the last 6 months, and she's saying the program has really helped me see this. and also not to stress about it, focus on it, or make a big deal of it. Just to observe and consider where there might be ease. Wonderful. Oh, maybe that's Jen. Sorry, I couldn't see who wrote that comment. So is it Jen Bailey that said that? Yes. Okay, wonderful. Jen is actually a student who is still in my intro program. She's taking the Mind Body Breakthrough, and she's having some really incredible revelations. So she's a perfect example of how people who take my programs, even in the introductory program, get so much value out of it. So thank you so much for sharing that, Jen. I really appreciate that. So, and if you're watching the replay, please don't hesitate to throw your comments in there as well. I always come back and take a peek at the comments. So yes, she says, highly recommended. Yes. Yeah, so I'm going to finish up now. This has been really fun sharing thoughts with you all week, this last week of the year. I hope that reflecting on your purpose, your mind, your body, your spirit, and your artistry, and kind of reflecting on how you bring yourself into your music making, and how you've been doing that over the last year, just with some general thoughts. I hope these videos and these ideas have given you some new ideas, new ways to play with thinking about moving into the new year and your future as a musician. And if you are one of the many musicians who are bumping up against some limitations, which are, like I said, could be physical issues, like you know that you play with more tension than necessary. Lots of musicians have that issue. But it's rare for musicians to really understand how to let go of all of it and be able to play with freedom. And it's not about relaxing your shoulders. It's not about relaxing your bow arm. It's about an overall shift in how you think, which affects and improves everything and makes everything in your body release and feel more freedom. So you might be having physical pain or tension or performance anxiety. Like those things that I listed. If you're bumping against any of those things, then stop bumping up against them and stop suffering with these things when it's not necessary. It's so frustrating for me to know that I have a solution that is just, it's like nothing you've ever experienced before. And it is beyond and different from hands-on Alexander technique in the sense that I give you the ideas and I tell you how to practice them every day for a few minutes, and then you are helping yourself and you can get the results for yourself really quickly. So when, knowing what's possible and having worked with hundreds of musicians who've had incredible breakthroughs, it's so frustrating for me to see people suffering from these issues year after year after year and not finding their way out. And yes, stepping into the musician's mind-body breakthrough is taking a risk because this is different and you've never done this before. So you don't know if it's right for you. You don't know if it's going to work. But that's why I offer a 100% money-back guarantee. I don't want it to feel like a risk. I want it to feel like an adventure. And I want you to be open to trying it. And you'll get results, guaranteed. But then you don't have to worry. So there is a money-back guarantee. We're starting in January. It's a 6-week program. It is so much fun, and it's just a potentially life-changing and music and artistry-changing experience. So please message me, email me if you prefer at jennifer@artoffreedom.me. It's .me. You can look up my website. It's www.artoffreedom.me. And please just ask me. If you're curious and you want to learn more about how to bring your whole self in an easy, free way to your music making to improve your technique, improve your skills, and just heal in mind, body, and spirit, your whole life and your music, then just reach out. I would love to have a little chat with you to see if this program is a good fit, and I'd love to just dive in with you in January. It would be a great way to start 2022, and you will not regret it, I promise. So hopping over one more time to the comments, then I'm going to say goodbye. Um, she says, I should have mentioned that, of course, this is having a massive positive effect on my principal instrument as well. Yes, great. I will also pay, it will also pay through to my students as well. Yeah, that's actually something else that many of my students are music educators, and they are doing this program. They're doing this work with me for themselves, but all of my educators find that they become much better teachers because of what they're learning. And when they can start passing on the information to their students learn so much faster. And it's just so fun to apply these ideas to their teaching. So I wish everybody here a fantastic new year filled with really great artistry and lots of love and joy and light. And it's a gray day here, but the sun is shining behind the clouds. Let's not forget that. And just thank you so much for being here, and be well. Lots of love.